this in here.
There it goes in your pocket. There you go. All yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The first challenge I have to meet is to keep you awake, because speakers after lunch typically have to deal with a nodding audience. You've had brownies, you've had sugar, goodies for lunch, and it makes you very sleepy. So my task is to challenge you, and you shall see. As Carl has told you, I came into farming late in my adult life. My hairdresser only knows for sure that this is not the natural color. So, when I started farming and I got into cattle business, I followed the general modus operandi. Graze in the summer, feed in the winter, wean off the tit, ship the same day, the whole bit. So I had to come to accept what I was doing, or I had to change it. And I decided in my own mind that I was going to change it. At the moment, I graze year-round. The cows don't get fed any grain whatsoever, none. Their body condition is excellent, as you will see. I'm going to share with you photos of the farm over the span of a year. It just gives you some idea. I have enjoyed the presentations this morning, but you have to hear me now. It's a little... So I decided that I was dealing with a ruminant animal. She, the mama cow, was created to graze. And that's what I was going to do. It was abnormal to feed her corn. She didn't have the stomach for it. That's my philosophy. It won't necessarily agree with everybody. So I stopped feeding corn. A, I didn't want to. B, I couldn't afford it. So it was easier to develop my grazing system. So the core of my feeding at the farm is rotational grazing. And I worked with the state and federal funds to divide the farm into small paddocks, which is the heart of a rotation grazing program. I stockpile, thanks to Ike Eller, we've got fescue. So I stockpile fescue. And it's not palatable in the summer, but it's palatable in the winter. When it has frozen, it gets sweet, and they like it. I haven't fed this past winter. Last year was mild, and if I didn't do it last year, I was never going to do it. To feed all year round. This year I haven't fed yet, and I'm happy with that. All I do is make sure they have water, salt, grass. I check them periodically to see if somebody's lying in the gutter. And I'm there. They know me. And to move them, and I have pictures, I moved them 2 days ago. To move them, I open the gate, get out of the way, call them, and they come through. I calve in the fall. So these days I have young calves. If you do it right, you can group the mamas and the calves to move together. If you have a calf left in the back of the field, you'll have a hard time. They don't understand, they panic, and they run all over the place, and you end up having to shepherd him or her through the gate. So that's my philosophy. I believe in grass-fed beef. I eat grass-fed beef. You have to develop the palate for it. Your client has to develop the palate for it. You have to know how to cook it. But my cow is happy. And for me, that's important. That she be treated humanely and treated like she was created for, to graze. She has 4 stomachs. Corn has no place in those 4 stomachs. So having said that, I will probably touch on other points as I show the pictures. Mind you, I understand what I'm doing is not for everybody, but you can take pointers home. Just pointer here and there and implement it. I have my indicators that I'm doing the right thing are: the cow is in good body condition. She raises a good calf. My pasture is growing every year. It comes back. Because I don't graze it down to a golf course, I leave 3 inches. When the cow leaves that pasture to the next one, she's left 3 inches of grass on the ground. That makes the grass grow back. And I believe in that. I don't fertilize. I don't have the money. I don't believe in riding the tractor on the pasture. It compacts it. I'm half Amish, if you wish. What do I use for fertilizer? I harrow their manure. I've got a 12-foot harrow. I drag it behind the tractor, and I just go over the pastures. It's a weak fertilizer. I don't make hay. I buy it. I bought my last load of hay from a local producer in Madison who's excellent. His hay is very good. I paid more than $40 a bale, but it's in the barn. Why do I have it? I'll show you. In the winter of 09, 010, I'll show you what I had to do. It brought my whole rotational grazing program to a screeching halt. Nature has got to provide the rain to make the grass grow. If that rain is in the form of snow, you are in trouble unless they can get through the snow to the grass. Everybody awake?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I bought the farm in 80, and I did not put my cattle on it till 87. In the meantime, there was a local tenant farmer who came to me with the land. I watched him, John Marshall Clark. Some of you might know him. A great farmer. I watched him, and I just stored the information. Came in handy later. This is how I worked with NRCS and the Soil and Water District. The boundary to the farm is the pink line. Am I in your way here? The boundary to the farm is the pink line. The numbers indicate the size of the pasture. Can you see how many paddocks I have? They tend to be small, not very large. Most of this, sorry, let's try again here. Most of the fencing is permanent fencing. Cost share programs will pay for interior fencing. They won't pay for a perimeter fence. They'll pay for interior. All of my streams are fenced off, every one of them. So when you do that, the cost share programs provide water troughs. these red objects are water troughs on the farm. I have 5 wells on the farm. Some of them are so far out there that I have 5 meters on the farm, mind you. The electric company bills me 5 bills because they're in remote locations. These areas here are conservation areas planted with trees to fence off the streams. You come into the farm. My home is somewhere back here, I think. These are existing woods. These are conservation areas where the cattle don't go. When I implemented the conservation programs, I gave up 100 acres. The total farm is 285. When I gave up 100 acres, I had to reduce the herd because I had too many cattle for the grazing land, and I would have had to feed in August if I wasn't careful. So I cut back and have a small herd. The carrying capacity of the farm, I go by the formula, the old-fashioned formula that says 2 acres for the cow-calf pair. And if you want to graze year-round, you stockpile 3 acres for every cow that's going to winter over. And that has worked for me. Nancy Utz recognizes the map because NRCS developed this map, and we decided, and I got cost share money for building the fences and putting in the water troughs. There was some out-of-pocket money, but I couldn't have afforded it without cost share. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about fencing. I've got every kind of fence you can think of. Board fence, high tensile fence, with and without juice, polywire, American wire with a wire at the top, a hot wire at the top. Sometimes you have to, the trees will cause damage. In these storms we've had recently, the most vulnerable is my board fence. When it breaks, it has to be rebuilt, whereas the high tensile bounces back. And it's very helpful, but the calves know how to get through a cold high tensile fence. They weasel through and they get into conservation areas where they're not supposed to be. So this is a board fence with a wire at the top. I have a charger in the barn that runs my main juice runs this way, and I can take off of it in all directions. But the main juice starts here and runs to the end of the farm. And that's with a charger in the barn. This is a board fence, and it may not be clear, but right here, we're pulling some of the juice off onto a high tensile fence here. This is board with a wire at the top. This is a solar charger, mind you. This is different. There. And the hot wire is disconnected, but normally that would be connected to this wire here, which I would hook up to this wire here. This is my sticks and my polywire. And I move the solar charger with my polywire fence, and they respect it. The calves go right under it. It's okay. I can deal with it. This is how it's set up. I should have shown you here. There's a grounding rod somewhere in here. You have to ground them well. That's the grounding wire there, and the grounding rod must be somewhere here. If you don't ground them well, they don't produce enough juice to be effective. This is my permanent charger, and it's plugged into the grid there. And this is inside the barn. I don't know if you can see this I don't know if you can see this very well. This is an American wire here with a wire at the top. I have found this to be very effective. I'm going to start in September and walk you through the year, not for the cow, but for the grass. An example of water trough. I use these. The cost share program helps you put them in. There is a requirement that you put a concrete slab, enough gravel around, and periodically you have to import more gravel because the cows stand there and with their feet they kick the gravel back. Does anybody want to guess what her breed is, the mama? What breed is she? Can you see her? Yes, nice picture. What breed is she? Okay, she's a Bronby. And I like the breed. They're very gentle. She's got twins and she's kept them both, which I think is a sign of a good mama. There. You can see a polywire behind her. No, that's a high tensile with a separator there. That's a high tensile fence behind her. You can see trees planted by the conservation program surrounding all the streams. This has not been grazed. This has been grazed. Now this shows you what ungrazed grass looks like. I don't measure. I saw those sticks back there and I thought maybe I should buy one to measure, but I don't. It's a gut program. If the cow's in good shape, I'm satisfied. When they finish grazing a pasture, this is what it looks like. It's weedy. They pick the arugula and they leave the lettuce. So you have to go in behind them. I do. I clip the pastures. I think it's good for the pasture. It prevents the seeding of the weed. Same idea. This is what the pasture looks like when it has been grazed and clipped. I thought I'd tell you what I clip with. Sir, I have 5 minutes to go? You're kidding. Okay, all right. I clip with this. I clip with a sickle bar. That's a 9-foot sickle bar. I think it does a nicer job on the grass. It cuts it clean. It's slower, but it's a cleaner cut. It does not tear the grass, nor does it scatter the seed. I thought I'd show you that I do have some good grass. Clover there. This, I consider it too close, and it's because that's my working barn. So every time I bring them up in the working barn, they eat the grass, and I won't put out a bale of hay, so it ends up being grazed too close. This was December '09. I was by myself, no chance that I could continue rotational grazing. So I did. I put the chains on the tractor. These are the cows. I had to feed, much against my principle, but she had to be fed. And I fed 3 or 4 times a day. This was what the pasture looked like. They couldn't get at it. We are 22nd of January today, and I moved them 2 days ago, so I'm coming into February. And by April, it's wonderful to see the grass start to grow again. Oh, I'm teaching my dogs and my cats to graze. That way I can save money on cat food and dog food. If I could do that.
How's that working with your monogastrics?
Sorry?
How's that working with your monogastrics?
Oh, yes. Do you know what they do when they eat the grass? They then upchuck. This is what it looks like when it's finished grazing. Can you see? There's quite a bit left. This is 2 days ago. I moved them. As I said, I open the gate, and they walk through. The calves come along with the mamas. They've come through the gate, and they're finding their way. This is what they're into now. That was it. 5 minutes? All right. So it's not for everybody. It's for me. I like it. It works for me. I have no help. I have no overhead. It's me. And I enjoy doing it. The cows are happy. And I eat grass-fed beef.
How many cows?
40 mamas and 40 calves. I have more carrying capacity, and I could take more. But I'm not sure what the winter is going to do. I'll wait till the spring. If I get in a position where I'm overstocked, it's going to mean trouble for me to feed. So.
What do you do with the spring growth? How do you handle the spring growth?
No differently, I just keep going. I move them faster so that they don't damage the delicate growth of the grass. And I watch to see what they're doing. Sometimes they don't like the fescue, and I'm willing to move them on. Just let it be, and I'll catch up with that pasture later. Yes?
What's the typical size of your paddocks?
What's the size of what?
The typical size of your paddocks.
Paddocks. Well, you saw from that map, from the.
Couldn't see from here.
Okay, they vary between. I have a 3 or 4 acre paddock where I keep bulls, and it's got hot wire around it. To I'll divide a 25 acre in half for 12. That's about the size of it. I don't, and I know there's a school for mob grazing. I don't do it. I don't pack them into an acre and then move them every half hour. I can't do it. I got to eat and nap and do other things.
In the spring, when you move them more often, do you come behind and clip it with your sickle bar?
Yes, I do. I like clipping. It does something else for me. I think it helps move those cow cakes like a harrow, and it spreads them around a little bit. But I rely on the cow cakes for manure. It's very weak for fertilizer. It's very weak, but costs nothing. Does it work? Yes. Pardon?
I say, and it works.
And it works. Yes, I believe in it. As I said, mine's a low-budget operation, and you're looking at this only handyman on the job. Thank you, fellows.